when you are.
We're ready.
Hi, my name is Natalie.
My name is Gavin.
My name is Maisey Thompson.
My name is Cade
And my name is Ethan Van Komen.
Debate the inequality and strike with diplomacy.
The states relied upon the ruling of the Supreme Court in the 1896 Plessy versus Ferguson case for legal justification. Facilities that were separate but equal were legal. The year was 1950, Farmville, Virginia, Prince Edward County. It was on this day that Barbara Johns, the initial spark and catalyst to debate inequality with diplomacy. While this significant event may have seemed insignificant, it contributed greatly to the larger civil rights movement.
Oh no, we missed the bus. Well, we can't definitely walk to school. It's 15 miles away. Hey, look, there's the White Kids bus, and it's half empty and brand new.
Well, you know they won't let us on. I'm fed up with this whole education system. It's not just the buses, but our school too.
They say black and whites can be separate but equal, but we all know we're far from equal.
Our school has 455 students and a school built for 150 students.
And there's only 2 bathrooms and 4 drinking fountains in the whole school.
Don't forget there's no plumbing.
Instead of building us a new school, the school board builds us deplorable tar paper shacks. We aren't chickens.
I'm sick and tired of it all. Something has to be done about this inequality. I don't know what, but something.
The meaning of freedom changed slowly, surely to an elusive theme that even the strongest of people cannot hold in their hands. There were no chains on lockers, but there were the shadows of those chains, stretching for hundreds of years back through time across black minds.
Okay, class, welcome back to another day at Robert Bruce Monson High School. I just heated up the stove and the rain has finally stopped leaking in.
So many of us are out sick today from this freezing classroom.
How are we supposed to study in these conditions, let alone learn?
At least your class is in here today next to the only stove and not out in the school bus.
Why couldn't the school board just get some heating in this place?
We could stand here all day and debate about it, but it's not going to change anything.
That's right. The school board debates with one excuse after another.
Our parents have had nothing but failure in our effort to get a new school.
Well, I will debate about it. Our parents have tried to fix things, but nothing ever changes. We've been patient long enough.
Well, why don't you do something about it?
Mrs. Inez Davenport Jones was being her usual supportive teacher, but what she didn't know was Barbara grabbed into her words like a life preserver. It took Barbara 6 months to formulate a plan.
All right, everyone, it's time for the children to lead a diplomatic strike. You all heard about the colored school bus that broke down a month ago?
Yes, the train hit it, and some students were thrown out of the bus. 10 were hospitalized, and 5 lost their lives.
That's right. We're with you, Barbara. All 20 of us. We'll do whatever it takes to make your strike happen. We can't just wait around for another incident.
All right, first, you'll have to sneak out of school and get to a private phone at your house. Disguise your voice with a handkerchief over the mouthpiece. Call Principal Jones and tell him a couple of students were skipping school at the Greyhound bus terminal downtown. As soon as Mr. Jones leaves the school, you'll hand my notes to every class.
Students and teachers, please come to the auditorium for an emergency assembly at 11 a.m.
I even signed it as a principal would. Initials BJ.
The strike date is getting closer. While I know my fiance would agree with us, he still is the principal and would have to put a stop to this if he ever discovered what was going on.
April 23rd, 1951. Barbara's diplomatic approach was ready to be put into action. All 450 students crowded into a little auditorium and students could barely breathe. The curtains parted. The students all stared in shock. It wasn't the principal, but Barbara that stood center stage. Hopes high for diplomacy and success.
Would the teachers please leave the room? This assembly is for students only. I don't want any of you to get into trouble. Attention! We must act now and seize the moment. We are all unhappy with the school facility and its inadequacies. It isn't fair that we have hand-me-down textbooks and such a poor facility when our white counterparts enjoy science laboratories, a huge gym, and a separate gym.
We're more than ready for something to change.
Good, but talking about it isn't working, so we're going out on strike. We will shock the school board into action until we get a new school. This movement will be the eye of the storm. God is on our side. The time of being a second-class citizen is over. We want equality.
But what are the parents going to say?
The parents will be with us. We just need everyone to cooperate. And don't be afraid. We will march in an orderly manner. We will have diplomacy.
What if we get into trouble with the school authorities or even arrested?
The Farmville jail isn't big enough to hold all of us.
1 bit, 2 bit, 3 bits a dollar, all in favor of strike, give a holler. Woo!
The Student Center speech was of divine intervention. Barbara was in command of the school. They carried their signs and collected signatures, asking for support. There wasn't any fear in Barbara. She was the one to keep it all together. Her only thought was, this is your moment. Seize it.
Principal Jones called the superintendent, T.J. McIlwain, to inform him of the strike. McIlwain refused to come to the school that day or to meet with the students until they agreed to return to class. He wrote all their names down and their parents in an effort to intimidate them. He even threatened that their parents would lose their jobs and be sent to jail. Additionally, he also withdrew their school buses, but that didn't stop their resolve. The students refused to go back to school and were on strike for 2 weeks. Instead, Barbara wrote a letter to lawyers of the NAACP.
Spotswood, listen to this. This could be the case we've been looking for. The beginning of integration. Gentlemen, we hate to impose as we are doing, but under the circumstances that we are facing, we have to ask for your help. Due to the fact that the facilities and building in the name of Robert R. Moughton High School are inadequate, we understand that your help is available to us. This morning, the students refused to attend classes. You know that this is a very serious matter because we are out of school. Please, we beg you to come immediately. You know, maybe this case would be better received in the city. Maybe we should just tell them to go back to school.
These kids are so well organized and their morale is so high. I don't have the heart to tell them to break it up.
The white folk in Prince Edward County frowns upon our organization and our agenda, and the black community has argued it's too great a risk to take on segregation.
I've been completely unprepared for the white community's resistance to spending money on black schools. What really gets me going is that they think that white and colored schools are equal. Ha!
Let's take the case. It's going to be difficult with the law and through force to change any man's heart, but the debate of segregation is ingrained pretty deep, and these kids just won't give up.
But we must fight for human dignity so that everyone might enjoy the full promise of America.
Diplomacy will have to be more than just a strike. We're going to have to take this to court. Segregation is unconstitutional.
We're not going to just get them a new school. The only way we'll take the case is if they fight for full integration. We've got to end segregation.
The eyes of the world are upon us.
This isn't going to happen overnight. The last school board official I met threatened to shoot the first colored foot that steps into a white school.
A new colored high school would not bring equality, even if it was built brick for brick, cement for cement, like the white school. When people are separated, they're stamped with the brand of inferiority.
A newspaper denounced the strike as a student-inspired mass hooky. A cross was burned in front of the high school, and Barbara's home was burned to the ground as a warning. The school board fired the principal, and Barbara's family was denied in local stores and banks. Her life was even threatened on one occasion, making Barbara's efforts feel like a failure.
After the 2-week strike, the NAACP files a petition in court alleging that segregation was unconstitutional. 3 years later, it joined 3 other similar cases into one consolidated case of Brown versus Board of Education. But this was the only case that was student-led. The ruling was a success and a significance in the civil rights movement, stating that separate can never be equal.
Even after the Supreme Court's ruling, there was a mass resistance for 13 years. Even the school board shut down all schools for 5 years. Whites were still educated by attending a private school, it felt like a failure. It felt like reaching for the moon, but they met whatever obstacle they were given, no matter how difficult.
Diplomacy was a struggle due to Virginia's resistance to integration. But finally, in the 1980s, all Prince Edward County schools are fully integrated and funded. Success for diplomacy and education lives on throughout her significant story.
At her funeral in 1991, the program bore the words, "Nothing so strong as gentleness and nothing so gentle as strength." While her strike as a teenager did not unfold as she had envisioned, we argue that her student-led movement was an important part in the larger civil rights movement encompassing the entire nation.